Hey everybody, this is Mr. Carlsbad Real Estate. Thanks so much for tuning back in. And today we're going to talk about 5 things sellers can't ignore in San Diego going into 2026. So let's dive into it. And real quick, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving with your family and loved ones. All right, guys. So number 1 is reliance on old comps. If your neighbor sold their property for X amount of dollars over a year ago, we can't rely on that in this current market. As a full valuation model. This market is changing faster, I think, than I've ever seen it. I've been doing this for 14 years. Things are more fluid, seemingly, than they ever have been. With some months, things are selling for more. Some months, things are selling, taking longer to sell, and they're selling for less. So I think you really have to look at your neighborhood, what is pending in escrow, what is active, and what has sold from the last 30 days up to 4 or 5 months. After that, things start to get a bit murky. So we really want to get the closest idea to what's happening in the market now before we make a mistake on price and put your home too high or too low on the market. Okay. Number 2 is understand that buyers' expectations are higher than they ever have been. So if your house has some deficiencies, some things that you might need to address in terms of repairs, absolutely have that consultation with us so that we can tell you, what buyers are going to notice, because they're going to notice. If you have a water heater that hasn't been replaced in 20 years, if you haven't redone the roof ever, if you haven't replaced the sewer line, they are going to take notice of that. So that's why it's important to talk, make a plan, see what's doable, what we can, tackle before, especially if you're in a time crunch, what can get done before you need to sell, what is worth having done. You don't necessarily need to do a full remodel here, but you're definitely going to want to address any little thing that you can so that you don't get blindsided, which leads me into my next point. Number 3, don't get blindsided by the inspection or by the appraisal. So the appraisal is the lender's evaluation of the property, right? They have to know that if the buyer's offering $1 million for your home, it's going to appraise at $1 million, meaning that other similar properties in your neighborhood are selling for that amount of money. If there are no other properties that are selling for similar prices and they come back at a lower value, the lender for the buyer will only fund, up to that amount. So you might not get your price after all. So you don't want to be blindsided by that. And again, that's where it's, talking to us, having those conversations early so that we can establish what the baseline value in the neighborhood is, and then know that if we go above that, there are things that we can do, such as asking the buyer to have an appraisal gap clause to fill in the gaps if there is one, so that you're not caught off guard. Again, we want to just try to minimize surprises. Inspection. So going back to my point about buyers' expectations being very high these days, which is understandable when you think about how much more it costs for them to get into a home. A lot of times they're squeezing their budget, right, just to get into your home. So the home inspection, it's a part of the process. Every buyer, for the most part, is going to choose to do one. They have the right to do it, and they have the right to cancel if they don't feel they can pay the price they offered for your home after the repairs and the repair negotiation takes place. So just understand that process has to play out. There's always, some compromise. And again, our job is to try to get you out of that as unscathed as possible, and make it a smooth transaction, a smooth negotiation. But every house, doesn't matter if it's a new build, you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars maintaining the home. Every house has some issue that comes up. It's just real estate. It is a part of the process. And that's not to say that some home inspectors don't do a better job of identifying what's really going on than others. I talked about in another video, some home inspectors don't have the experience, I believe, required. And so they'll label everything wrong. And that's why I do recommend at times you do your own pre-inspection as the seller with a qualified home inspector that we know, so that we can really have a good idea of what the issues are going to be, and get ahead of the game, so to speak. So I do recommend that if you have the time and the means. It's a good thing to know, especially if you are really not aware of any issues going on with your property. So that's number 3. And number 4 is going to be watch out for any wire fraud. I talked about this in another video as well. Just don't give your financial information via email to anybody. Make sure that that's just with a vetted escrow officer, a vetted licensed broker over the phone only. Okay. And then do watch out for wholesalers, or what we call some fake buyers out there. Some wholesalers are very professional and very good. Okay. So I'm not kiboshing all of them, but a lot of them will approach you and give you a full price offer for what you want and tell you that they are the buyer when in fact they are not the buyer. And if you see the words assignee or assignment on a purchase agreement for your home, before you get all happy about the price you're getting, just understand that means that person is going to wholesale your property. They're going to try to sell the contract to an end buyer and tie you into a contract that you might be getting taken advantage of. So just be careful. And number 5, last thing, guys, we will talk about here is just really make sure your strategy is right for you the first time. So if you want to list your property higher the first time, just understand in this market with rates being what they are, it's going to take longer to sell your property. So just make sure that you're good for 90 days, you're good for 180 days of having the property on the market, having it shown during that time. Obviously, that doesn't work for everybody. Some people need to move much faster. I think it's a conversation we want to have with you to determine what is the best strategy, obviously to help you get the most amount of money for the property, but also to help get you to your next chapter and help you get to your goal, whatever that is. Obviously faster, the better. But that's when picking that strategy and talking to us and having that consultation really comes into play, guys. So going into 2026, I think those are the things that sellers here in San Diego County need to know. I'm Mr. Carlsbad, guys. Subscribe here for more. Thanks so much.